It's Debbie Potts, and I'm doing a deep dive into the role of the vagus nerve, partially because I am co-hosting a free webinar on the vagus nerve, creating vagal tone and measuring your vagus tone, vagal nerve with heart variability. I know many of us have a Garmin watch, a Whoop band, an Oura ring, and we're tracking our heart rate variability. But do you know what to do with that information? Do you know what a score for you is good? What's your baseline and how to improve it? And what are some red flags when it drops? What does that correlate with? What is the role of the vagus nerve? How to stimulate it? We are going to talk about that in a free webinar Wednesday, January 8th, 2025. And we are going to put together a 30-day challenge to see how you can improve your vagal tone, how you can measure it with variability testing devices as Sweetbeat Life, and how you can stimulate your vagus nerve with Neuvana. So let's share my screen and dive into some things I'm working on to help you improve the aging process. So you can see this picture on my blog page, Unlocking Metabolic Harmony. We're going to do this free webinar talking about the role of the vagus nerve and how it is connected to so much. It's amazing when I dive into this. The heart, liver, GI tract, spleen, stomach, the lungs, and we're going to learn about how to stimulate your vagus nerve with Neuvana and their device. That will be part of our 30-day challenge if you have a device. And also, we'll talk about some free techniques to strengthen your vagal nerve as humming, singing, gargling water, and sweetwaterhealth.com. You can look at our link to sign up. So Metabolic Harmony webinar, January 8th, 9 a.m. Pacific time. It'll be 30 minutes webinar presentation with the three of us and 15 minutes Q&A if you want to stay on for extra chatting time. So click on this link. I'll put it in the show notes. Sweetwater Health, January 8th. We'll be doing a Zoom webinar. So if you sign up, you'll get the recording. And then we'll talk about our 30-day challenge to strengthen the vagus nerve using a vagus nerve stimulator, but also talking about how I can strengthen the vagus nerve and how we can improve it. So where is my link here? I want to know what happens to our vagus nerve. Why does it get to be dysfunctional? As I go down these rabbit holes of always trying to understand what goes wrong so we know how to prevent it and then how to, of course, correct and improve it so we can thrive as we age. Just to go over, I did a few audio podcasts on the podcast channel, but why does the vagus nerve get damaged? Chronic stress, huge part, right? We're overacting that sympathetic nervous system. We're living life as a race and being in sympathetic dominance. So prolonged stress leads to excessive cortisol release that can suppress your parasympathetic nervous system, reducing your vagal tone. Chronic stress. You can be doing all the right things as I thought I was, but I was living life as a race and led to my adrenal exhaustion, which is why I do what I do today to help you avoid going through what I went through. So chronic stress can increase neural inflammation and impact the vagal nerve function. Also, inflammation, if you have chronic diseases, infections, autoimmune conditions, that will also impact the vagus nerve. And looking at trauma, emotional, physical trauma, poor gut health, dysbiosis, gut inflammation can impair vagal nerve signaling. SIBO, irritable bowel syndrome, leaky gut, all these can correlate to poor vagus nerve. I started wondering about this, and you'll see here some guest experts on my podcast because I kept seeing clients. I did their lab testing, did a stool test, I do their hormone panel, Dutch test, blood chemistry, and then I'm looking at their data and tracking their heart rate variability and changes. And I started to see pattern when I did clients that had big red flags on their stool tests, their microbiome, and their HRV score was really low. Or some people that had trauma, or they have autoimmune issues as celiac. There's a lot of correlation. So what if we can improve a lot of those dysfunctions by improving the connection of the gut brain with the vagus nerve stimulation. Pretty amazing. So, not that one thing solves all, but it can help, right? Another big area I'm talking a lot about in the next year, mold. How mold can contribute to nerve damage as well as environmental toxins, heavy metals. And of course, we know lifestyle habits or breathing habits. So even if you're active, but how you breathe is a big part of being healthy. So correlation risk factors we go over in the webinar, but mental health conditions, digestion, this is a big part why I started going into the vagal nerve, is looking at people that have gut issues and how they're related to vagal dysfunction. And originally we just thought of the vagus nerve as heart rate variability testing, a sign of cardiovascular health. So looking at the role of the vagus nerve, go back to that diagram, how it's connected to more than just your heart. So there's a lot more additional information we can get from strengthening the vagus nerve and tracking with heart rate variability. So ways to improve your vagus nerve through here: deep breathing exercises, cold exposure, cold plunges, singing, humming, chanting, stimulate those vocal cords, the vagus nerve. And I use Jody Cohen's The Vagal Nerve essential oil from Vibrant Blue Oils. Exercising, yoga, working on gut health. I've been doing my super gut yogurt again. I just made a new batch yesterday. And then having that fermented foods, of fermented beef sticks as Paleo Valley, getting your probiotic yogurt that I make can really help address dysbiosis by improving the good guys, getting the good bacteria so they can outnumber the bad bacteria, get the balance in the gut. So we're going to talk about the vagus nerve, all the functions. Vagal tone sounds confusing when we talk about vagal nerve and vagal tone. Vagal tone is the activity of the vagus nerve and its ability to regulate the body stress and recovery responses. We can measure the vagal tone with heart rate variability. So the connection of the vagus nerve, connection to the parasympathetic nervous system. Vagal tone is the activity of the vagus nerve and the ability to regulate body stress, resiliency, recovery. And then measuring vagal tone with heart rate variability. Ideally, we'll talk about Sweetwater Health using one of their apps, so the Sweetbeat HRV, and you can track heart rate variability on an app, monitor stress, heart rate recovery, but you need to have a chest strap. So somewhere on there, we'll talk about supported heart rate monitors. This is what, the Fitbit, Apple Watches, Garmin, they don't work as well to really get the true data. So using heart rate strap, Polar, my Garmin works as well. So you can check out the items here on Sweetwater Health, but they have a new device we'll talk about. It's not showing here. What's it called? It's mobile device. She'll talk about in the seminar, but it's more of a handheld. But getting iPhone, if you have iPhone, it helps, or your iPad. And they can use this Daily Beat. I like using Sweet Beat heart rate variability, and I like it because I can look at the data here and looking at the heart rate, and you can see the HF, low frequency score, and the HF. High frequency is your parasympathetic nervous system. Low frequency is your sympathetic nervous system. And then Rhonda will talk about the RMSD, heart rate variability score, your heart rate, and tracking this, what we'll do in a 30-day challenge, how we can improve this high frequency and low frequency balance. So there's a ratio, LF to HF. So that's why I'd like to see this data and not just look at an Oura or Garmin score or your WHOOP. So you can do heart rate variability for training. I like to just track and keep score everything. I did a 30-day challenge for them when I had my adrenal exhaustion in 2013. And that's when I met Rhonda at the Ben Greenfield Superhuman Coach Seminar. So we were testing heart rate variability back then. I find it truly fascinating. Again, just looking at the number HRV on your Oura data or Garmin WHOOP doesn't tell you the whole picture. So we want to look at this LF to HS score, and then looking at devices as this vagus nerve stimulator to help improve your vagus nerve. So that's what we're talking about in our free webinar: vagal nerve, vagal tone, how we can get a higher vagal tone that's associated with better health outcomes as stress resiliency, improved digestion, reduced inflammation, and a balanced autonomic nervous system. A low vagal tone is linked to chronic stress, inflammation, poor cardiovascular health, metabolic disorders. So we measure that with our heart rate variability we just went over as I use Sweetwater. Higher indicates a stronger vagal tone and greater adaptability to stress. A higher heart rate variability is connected to better metabolic health, cardiovascular function, and resilience. On the opposite side, if you have a low heart rate variability score, that gives me clues that we have poor vagal tone, chronic stress, insufficient recovery. But why is your vagal tone low? Why is your vagus nerve not functioning as well? What is that connected to? So that's when we correlate all the data in the intake forms and the lab testing together, and then look at ways we can improve the vagus nerve. Because remember, it's connected to the brain, the cardiovascular system, the respiratory digestion system, immune system, endocrine, ears and throat, larynx and pharynx, gut brain axis. So the vagus nerve is super important because it's connected, as we said, parasympathetic regulation, promotes relaxation, digest, recovery, lowers your heart rate, reduces blood pressure, helps with immune system, controlling inflammation, impacts your neurotransmitter regulation, so serotonin, GABA, which are needed for our mood stabilization, as well as homeostasis maintenance, heart rate, digestion, respiration. We'll talk about why in the seminar, we'll talk about why we need to strengthen. Whoops, I don't want my free ebooks you can on my website. Go back, get out of there. So why strengthening your vagus nerve with the breath work, with the cold plunges, with your breathing, humming, with the vagus nerve stimulator? Heart health, mental health, inflammation, gut-brain connection. If you want to improve how you age, don't you think this is important? Something easy as humming in your car, singing, gargling water, salt water. So you can measure with heart rate variability. That's all in here. And then work on strengthening with the breath work, cold, mindfulness, humming, singing. So reasons to measure, how to measure, we'll talk about, and how this helps with metabolic health, healthy aging, because I want to help you improve how you age, and that's what I'm focusing on. So again, the WHOOP and Oura, Garmin help. It doesn't really give us the whole picture, and it's not as accurate. And again, we want to look at why is it running low? It's not just overtraining. It could be other reasons with chronic stress, but other reasons as poor vagal nerve we talked about. Chest straps, heart rate monitor, Polar H10, and the Garmin you can use. There's the devices, but again, they're not as accurate. And then we'll talk about the differences and what we're measuring. Rhonda will talk about that. So join our free webinar, 9 a.m. Pacific time, Wednesday, January 8th. So you have to register. And then you'll learn about the vagus nerve and metabolic health, how the vagus nerve influences stress, recovery, inflammation, digestion, tips to improve vagal tone for better metabolic harmony. Heart variability is a key biomarker for, of course, stress management, recovery, and aging. The differences between chest straps and wearables and tools to improve HRV as Neuvana's vagal nerve stimulator, and then measuring with Sweet Beat Life HRV measurement. And then I'll talk about metabolic harmony, personalization of your nutrition, exercise, stress management to help improve the whole you from the inside out. So that's all in this link here. I'll put in the show notes. Zen, you can learn about Neuvana on their website. I'll put that link in. Sweetwater to use their device or app rather, and then use your Polar or Garmin heart rate strap. That's what I'm working on. The other thing I was trying to tie into hydrogen water as well to reduce oxidative stress. Been looking into that, and red light therapy. So we'll continue on talking about how to improve our mitochondria as we age, and along with stimulating that vagus nerve. So that's my focus for the new year. And if you have questions and topics you want me to work on, how to improve your metabolic health, that is where we're going this year, 2025. Happy New Year.